Yo guys, hope you have a really awesome day. My day is going pretty good so far. As you can see, I'm in yet another location. We are in Dunganess. These really interesting looking things behind me are called sound mirrors, and the project here in Dunganess was originally established in roughly 1922, I think it was, and shortly after that they built the first sound mirror, which was this one over here. So the actual premise of these things, they're set up so you can hear the enemy aircraft coming from miles away. It's actually recorded that they could hear the big bombers while they were actually still over the actual area in France, so that's quite cool. However, sadly, due to the progression of radar, the project was eventually scrapped in the late 30s because it just wasn't as efficient, and it just didn't work as well as radar did, and radar's obviously what we use in modern era.
No guys, that is definitely not good enough. That weather was poo, we couldn't even get over the water. That just absolutely sucked. We're back with the dinghy. I feel like I'm in the middle of the lake right now. This is Muir. I ain't even got like a pole on it. Maybe this wasn't such the best idea, but we're getting there. We are nearly there, so I'll see you in a sec when we actually get on the island. Well, if I get on the island, that is.
Okay guys, so we are now actually on the island. We are officially on the island. Absolutely so stoked. Like, this is really cool. So let's start from scratch. So the actual project here, the acoustic sound mirrors, were started to be developed around the early 1900s. They kind of reached their pinnacle in about 1930, where sadly, due to the progression of radar, the whole project was stopped, and the guy who was actually head of the project was then demanded, or ordered even, to blow them all up, to destroy them, because they didn't want this sort of technology or any kind of traces of what we had actually been experimenting with getting out to anyone. So that's pretty awesome. This massive one here actually has a diameter of about 30 feet, which is absolutely massive. You can see by my couple of friends here just the vast scale of what this thing is. It's pretty windy guys, it's pretty windy, but you can see just how big it is. This metal framework here, what this would have had a trumpet on it, like a funnel type horn that would then pan either side like that, just so it could pick up wherever any sort of noise was coming. There'll then be a tube that went down inside, and this little booth underneath here would have had a guy in there with like a stethoscope style headphones listening in for any sort of enemy aircraft noise. So let's go on to the more exciting stuff. If I come this way, this one here, this sound wall is absolutely massive. It is 200 feet across. That's right, 200 feet. How insane is that? It's whopping, it's huge. So it was actually of great benefit that the guy who was in charge of this whole project didn't actually destroy the sound mirrors after all. This is because the people who were developing radar looked at these designs. They looked at this dish design and this flat wall design. They then thought, this thing is great for amplifying sounds and signals. So this one here is actually what we quite often use for radar dishes, and this one here is what you kind of see for your satellite dishes and stuff at home. So it was really good that he didn't actually destroy the area. This huge structure is created using cast concrete, so it's got huge big steel girders, reinforcing bars going up through the middle of the structure, which is then encased with concrete, which makes this huge dish shape, which obviously stands the test of time and is extremely strong. However, this one over here is actually made out of what appears to be brick. We'll go and have a closer inspection of this now. So this one's absolutely huge. It's just breathtaking. It's 200 feet in diameter. It's truly magnificent, and it seems to just fit into the location really well. It's very barren, very flat, with the occasional tree and bush jutting up, and you just see this huge thing emerging on the skyline. It's just something else to see. I highly recommend that people come down to Denge, near Dunganess, and just take a look for themselves. It's absolutely amazing. I think I may have mentioned before that I thought it was made out of brick, but it isn't. On closer inspection, it's still cast concrete. You can see the cast iron rods curving up through the structure where things have fallen away over time. It really is truly amazing to think this thing is just under 100 years old and it's still standing in such a magnificent way. It's really not far off what it probably would have looked like when it was first made. Standing here, I can actually kind of feel the effects of this acoustic sound mirror and what it's actually doing. You can kind of faintly hear the sea. The camera won't be able to pick it up, but you'll have to try and come down and see this and experience it for yourself. It's really something else. We're now at the next location. We're on the hillside overlooking the seaside area of Hythe. As you can see, there is another sound mirror. However, this one is slightly different to the ones before. If we go around to the rear of the location, you can see the iron reinforcing ridges that were used to form the shape of the sound mirror, and they are then later either surrounded with concrete, which is either kind of plastered on or casted in a mould. This sound mirror is from the exact same era as the other ones because, like I've already told you, they were all created around 1930-ish and then discontinued about 10 years later. As you can see, this sound mirror is actually in a worse state than any of the other ones we've looked at so far. The lower right hand side has actually fallen away. In doing some research, I found that this has happened within the last 5 or 6 years, because around 2010 it was a whole structure which was still perfect. There is currently a fence around it, so we can't actually go in and touch it like we could the ones you've just seen, which is sad. But it's probably for people's best interest, because if it looks like it's going to fall down, there's a chance it might fall down. So we can also see that the actual structure holding this sound mirror up is completely different to any of the ones we've seen before. It's not actually in its own cast concrete station or built on a concrete plinth. It's actually held up by what looks like an iron framework. This is quite different, but it shows that this whole area was a real experimentation sort of area for this technology. I'd heard that up on the cliffs above Folkestone there was this huge structure that was apparently looked kind of like a sound mirror, so we decided to venture up there. The weather was nice and beautiful, and there it is. It's a similar sort of design to what we've seen before, made out of concrete. You can't see any of the reinforcing rods in this one. It's a lot smaller, but it's still magnificent to say the least. It's just so beautiful to see these beautiful structures just up on these hills, and to not really have known they were there up until quite recently. This one's got a bit of graffiti on it, and it's not in bad condition. It's probably the best condition one we've seen. I think this is kind of a different design because it's nowhere near as kind of curved in as the others and stuff, but it's still beautiful. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed my in-depth look on the acoustic sound mirrors within my local area. I've really enjoyed making this video. It's been really awesome, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. But what's next? I'm really not too sure what's next. There's a few places that I'd like to go to, so perhaps we can kind of make a plan and then do some more within the next few days. But yeah, for now, I'm going to say, remember guys, it's now or never, so stay positive and keep dreaming big. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.